You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry is the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
Hey folks, it's Mark Marin from WTF. Today I want to talk to you about Boost Mobile, offering reliable nationwide coverage backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Love your service or get your money back, no questions asked. Boost Mobile offers the coverage, network speed, and service you're used to, but at more affordable prices. Why pay more if you don't have to? You can get an unlimited plan for $25 a month that will never increase in price, ever. No price hikes, no multi-line requirements, no stress. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com. After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 per month as long as they remain active on the Boost Unlimited plan.
I'm no tech genius, but I knew if I wanted my business to crush it, I needed a website now. Thankfully, Bluehost made it easy. I customized, optimized, and monetized everything exactly how I wanted with AI. In minutes, my site was up. I couldn't believe it. The search engine tools even helped me get more site visitors. Whatever your passion project is, you can set it up with Bluehost. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, what have you got to lose? Head to Bluehost.com to start now.
El rugido de los aficionados, el ritmo de las porras, la intensidad en la cancha. Esto es más que solo un partido de fútbol. Con DraftKings Sportsbook, esta es tu oportunidad de convertir cada jugada en una gran ganancia. Descarga la app de DraftKings Sportsbook y usa el código HEART. Ese es el código HEART para que los nuevos usuarios reciban $200 en bonus bets al instante cuando apuestes solo $5. En asociación con DraftKings, la corona es tuya. ¿Problemas con el juego? Llama al 1-800-GAMBLER. En Nueva York, llama al 877-8-HOPE-NY o envía un mensaje de texto con la palabra HOPE-NY al 467-369. En Connecticut, hay ayuda disponible para problemas con el juego. Llama al 888-789-7777 o visita ccpg.org. Juega responsablemente. En nombre de Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Debe ser mayor de 21 años. La elegibilidad varía según la jurisdicción. No válido en Ontario. Pueden aplicarse cargos en Illinois. Las apuestas de bonos son de un solo uso. La apuesta no se incluye en las ganancias y caducan después de ser otorgadas. La oferta finaliza el 29 de septiembre 2025 a las 11:59 p.m. hora del este. Los términos en DraftKings.com/sportsbook/promos.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. We tell you what you need to know. We follow up on context. And by gosh, today we're going to do our damnedest to help you understand.
Today, Bodie Grimm tells us what LMR batteries are and why they're coming to your next EV. And we break down the judge's decision not to require Google to sell Chrome and why it really doesn't matter just yet.
Yeah. It's sort of a Pyrrhic victory, I guess, in a way. Anyway, I'm Todd Merritt.
And I'm Sarah Lane.
Let's start with what you need to know with the big story. All right, so I know everybody needs to understand this. But in the end, we're going to have to wait for anything to happen. But let's just go with what happened. U.S. District Judge Amit P. Mehta, and it's with an H, even though it's Meta, issued an order in the U.S. antitrust case against Google over its domination of search advertising. And I always like to separate this from the other antitrust because there's two of them out there. There is one case about ad exchanges that is expected to get its final order later this month, so it shouldn't be long. But this is the one about Google abusing its market position in search ads. The judge already found that Google abused its market position in search ads. That was a year ago that decision was made. This is about what remedies the judge will require in order to correct for that abuse. Google will not have to sell Chrome. Sarah, you remember like every headline was like, ooh, Google has been asked to sell Chrome, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, companies stepping up being like, we'll buy it.
Yeah, that's right. They will not have to divest themselves of Android. The judge felt those remedies were a poor fit for this case. Also said that the Department of Justice did not prove why less extreme remedies wouldn't be enough to restore competition. Because remember, the remedy trial is all about, like, how do we restore competition to the marketplace? Judge Mehta wrote that, quote, the court is highly skeptical that a Chrome divestiture would not come at the expense of substantial product degradation and a loss of consumer welfare.
Wow. So judge was like, you know what? Google needs to run Chrome. Okay. Yeah. Chrome goes somewhere else and it goes sideways.
Well, he even said, like, it's not even easy to separate, like, which is true. Like, it's so wound into things that it would not be easy to separate. And he wasn't saying it couldn't happen. He was just saying that seems too extreme. Google will also still be allowed to pay partners, so it can still pay Mozilla and Samsung and Apple for preloading or placement of search and AI products. The judge found that such a ruling would harm, that if he were to prevent that, if he's like, if Google can't even pay for product placement, that would harm the phone and browser makers more than Google, because Google would get to keep all that money it would have to spend otherwise, and the recipients would be left without vital income, especially Mozilla. He wrote that such a decision might lead to, quote, fewer products and less product innovation from Apple. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I kind of feel like that wouldn't be the case, but, you know, whatever.
It feels like the judge is like, Google, too big to fail.
Yeah. However, the judge said he's prepared to revisit a payment ban if competition is not substantially restored through remedies the court does impose. So he left it open for a future suit if it looks like there is still abuse. He did not think this was ideal to let Google keep paying for placement, but acknowledged that the landscape has changed since the case was first brought, and wrote that, quote, companies already are in a better position, both financially and technologically, to compete with Google than any traditional search company has been in decades, except perhaps Microsoft. Sort of acknowledging Bing is out there, but man, we got ChatGPT, we got Claude, we got Perplexity. Everybody's coming for Google. And he added, there are strong reasons not to jolt the system and to allow market forces to do the work.
Well, I'm sure Google is very pleased with this. I can imagine that other companies having to, getting Google's money to get placement also are like, yeah, you know what? Let's just keep it how it is. But it doesn't. I don't know that this helps competition at all. I feel like it more just keeps things as they are.
Yeah. Well, so far that is fair, right? Because he also didn't accept the DOJ's request that companies present users with a choice screen for their search engine when they set up a device, writing that precedent requires courts to avoid remedies that compel product design requirements. And in any event, choice screens have not been shown to enhance competition. The judge is basically saying, AI is probably going to be a problem for Google. So there is more competition than there was when this case was first brought in 2020. And the court shouldn't be designing screens for people, which it's a very technologically forward judge, I would think. All right.
Poor Google, just trying to keep up in this new AI world of ours.
All right. So what does Google have to do? You're like, okay, so it doesn't have to do all that. It may not make exclusive deals. So it can't say, all right, we want Google search on your product, and you can't have any other search engines. It can't make exclusive deals for browsers. So if Chrome is carried, they can't require them to keep Firefox off. No exclusive deals for Gemini. They can't do anything that would prevent the distribution of rival products. It also can't require the use of those products if a company wants to carry the Google Play Store, which they have done in the past. They don't do it anymore, but they have said if you want the Google Play Store on your Android phone, then you have to only use Chrome and Gmail, et cetera. They can't do any of that. Mm-hmm. The court also ordered it to share search index data and some user interaction data, not ads data, but user data and search data with rivals to help them compete better. So qualified competitors can buy a one-time snapshot of data at marginal cost. That's basically like they can't make money off it. They can charge whatever it costs to provide that data, to engineers, whatever, so that the competitors can identify and crawl more web pages with valuable content and do so more efficiently.
Now, real quick, what's a qualified competitor?
Basically, I didn't look into the 230-page decision to figure out how it's defined. I'm sure it's defined well in there. But the idea is...
Yeah, like if I make a browser tomorrow, it's like,
yeah.
I'm probably not...
If you're, you and I can't just call up Google like, hey, we'd like your search data. They're like, are you a search engine? Like, no, you have to actually be a search engine. This was a request from the Department of Justice, but the judge only authorized a subset of the data that the DOJ requested to be shared. And the DOJ wanted it to be periodically refreshed. The judge said just once. You make the snapshot of data, put it out there. You don't have to refresh it again. So over time, it's going to get less useful. Meta also partially granted the DOJ's request to force Google to syndicate search. This one's a little more interesting, but allowed Google to price it above marginal cost so they can make money off of the syndication. And the requirement only lasts 5 years. The DOJ had asked for that to happen for 10. But yeah, DuckDuckGo could sign up for this if they can afford it. And Google has to be reasonable, but they can make a little money off it and then put Google search results in right next to their other search results if they want.
And that would be advantageous to another, browser search company, whatever,
yeah, right.
To be like, yeah, we're just as good as Google because
we literally have their search results. Yeah. In effect, the judge accepted all of Google's recommendations for remedy. Google had made very few. They said, you don't need to do much. And judge said, great, we're going to do everything you suggested. And we're going to do part of the U.S. Department of Justice's. So not Chrome, not Android divestment, but those things about data sharing and search syndication that we talked about. Now, there are some overlaps. Google had suggested certain remedies like data sharing that the DOJ had also suggested, but they worded them differently. So this is a weird technical legal bit of this. The judge ordered the two companies to reconcile those. It's not as dramatic as it sounds. It's not like you two go in a room and agree. It's more like, oh, you said it would be 7 days to deliver this, and you said 10 days. Figure out which one it is.
8.5.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make sure it's all the same thing, and then submit that by September 10th. And the judge will then look over that, approve it, and that is when the final order for the remedy happens. After that, the order becomes final, and that's why you didn't see Google say they were going to appeal today. They're waiting for that to actually be filed. Once it's filed, then they can say, we're going to appeal this entire thing. They're not just going to appeal the remedies. They're going to appeal the decision that they broke antitrust laws. But it can't do that until the final order is done. So for now, Google's VP of Regulatory Affairs, Leanne Mulholland, wrote that the company has, quote, concerns about how these requirements will impact our users and their privacy, and we're reviewing the decision closely. It's also possible the DOJ could appeal the remedy decision. And so Google might want to wait and see if they do that first and string this out a little longer. DOJ Antitrust Chief Gail Slater said, we will continue to review the opinion to consider the department's options and next steps regarding seeking additional relief.
Gosh, I think many people who hear this outcome say, Google really a very light slap on the wrist. Why even appeal? Feels pretty good for Google. But again, when you're a company that has as much money as Google has for legal fees, you want to be in the best position possible. And so you will appeal. You'll appeal whatever you can and drag that out as long as you can so that your market share ends up in the black.
If for no other reason than to stop them having to make any changes, right? Because the idea is you appeal the entire decision, then you ask the court to issue a stay on the remedy to say, well, we shouldn't have to implement this remedy until we've proven whether we really violated antitrust or not. And courts usually do that, which means then nothing happens until the appeal is heard, and that can take a couple of years. And this all gets kicked down the road again. And as you saw, Judge Mehta was already saying in the 5 years since this case was filed, the landscape of competition has changed. So I'm going to be a little easier than I would have in 2020 because you've got more competition, Google. You've got people at your heels, which is why you're right. A lot of consumer advocacy groups are looking at this as a slap on the wrist because they wanted the heavy-handed, maybe not Chrome and Android divestment. I think some even thought that was a little bit excessive, but stopping Google from paying for placement at all. And all this has done is say, Google, you can't require people to exclude competitors when you make a deal. You can pay for preferable placement, but you can't keep everybody else off the platform.
It's also, it's I was about to say it's funny. I don't know if I would call it funny, but the idea that direct competitors say, well, actually, we want Google's money. So
Yeah.
yes, we're competing and we want to beat you eventually, but we need you now.
Yeah. Well, and it's true. Apple may or may not really want to be a competitor of Google, and Apple would be fine without Google's money. Don't get me wrong. They got plenty of cash, but it's a good amount of cash, and Apple would have to figure out how to make that up somewhere else. They'd rather not. Mozilla might not exist if they didn't get Google money. Like, that is a big percentage of the income that they get. And so that would be devastating, to a company like Mozilla. And I thought it was good that the judge actually recognized that, of like, Google gets to keep a bunch of cash if they're not allowed to pay for placement, and then use that to increase their market position while Mozilla dies. That's not good for competition. I agree with them on that.
Well, DTNS is made possible by all of you listening right now, thanks to Tony Glass, Philip Less, and Howard Yermish.
Yay.
Picture this. You're in the garage, hands covered in grease, just finished up tuning your engine with a part you found on eBay, and you realize, you know what? I could also use new brakes. So where do you go next? Back to eBay. You can find anything there. It's unreal. Wipers, headlights, even cold air intakes. It's all there. And you've got eBay Guaranteed Fit. You order a part, and if it doesn't fit, send it back. Simple as that. Look, DIY fixes can be major. Doesn't matter if it's just maintenance or a major mod. You got it, especially when things are guaranteed to fit. So when you dive into your next car project, start with eBay. All the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
I'm no tech genius, but I knew if I wanted my business to crush it, I needed a website now. Thankfully, Bluehost made it easy. I customized, optimized, and monetized everything exactly how I wanted with AI. In minutes, my site was up. I couldn't believe it. The search engine tools even helped me get more site visitors. Whatever your passion project is, you can set it up with Bluehost. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, what have you got to lose? Head to Bluehost.com to start now.
Comcast is committed to bringing access to the internet to all Americans, including rural communities across the country, like Sussex County, Delaware.
We were being left behind. Everybody around us seemed to have internet, but we did not. High-speed internet is one of those good things that we needed to help us move our farming, our small businesses, our recreation forward.
Learn more about how we're bringing our next-generation network to more people across the country at ComcastCorporation.com/investment in America.
There's more we need to know today. Let's get to the briefs.
All right. The ETHA Tech Conference is happening in Berlin, so we have a lot of product announcements. E-ink tablet maker Remarkable announced the Remarkable Paper Pro Move. It's a much smaller 7.3-inch version of Remarkable's color e-ink note-taking device, the Paper Pro. Paper Pro Move is available now for $449 with a standard stylus and no case. If you want the Marker Pro, that's the stylus that has the cool eraser, can be added for $50, and cases range from anywhere from $69 to $139.
Would you have a Remarkable? You have one of the bigger size ones.
I've got the Remarkable 2, which is, this is 10.1 inches, and I've got the stylus with the cool eraser. The Remarkable 2 is not color though. So this is a few years ago. In fact, we did a live with it when I first got it. So I think it was 2021 or so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kindles didn't used to have color either. So the color e-ink life that we live in now makes it hard for me to not want that for myself. But what the Paper Pro Move has going for it is it's small. You can palm it, even if you have small hands. So if you're on the go and you're taking notes and you're a person who really wants to physically take notes, instead of typing them, I can see why this would make sense. I will also say the Remarkable 2, and I don't have the Pro. This is not heavy. I mean, it takes up some space, certainly, if you're on the go quite a bit. But for some people, that really does matter. And if you have the equivalent of a small piece of paper that you want to type a bunch of stuff on, then this makes sense. It's expensive, but the Remarkable line of products have always been fascinating to me because they aren't really connected to the internet much. Mm-hmm. There is some connectivity. You've got an app. You can run an app on a desktop. You can share files, through OneDrive or Google Drive. And I think Dropbox as well is supported, but it's designed to really be kind of offline. Mm. It's for that person who needs to sketch out a new idea offline. You can get to it somewhere else, but it's not designed to like surf the web. None of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like, I guess the new one's like a reporter's notebook. The original's like a notebook, and this is just like a smaller, like a steno pad.
Exactly. That's a good comparison.
Acer announced a lot of new products at IFA. The one you may see the most headlines about is the Swift Air 16 because it has a magnesium aluminum alloy. So the weight drops on that 16-inch laptop to 2.18 pounds. Coming to Europe and the Middle East and Asia in November with prices starting at 999 euros. Also a Chromebook Plus Spin 514. This is a convertible laptop, but it has MediaTek's Companio Ultra 910 processor, which lets it do AI processing on a light and affordable computer. It's also power efficient, so it's got really good battery life. Starting at $699, available in October. And probably getting less attention is the Acer Veriton GN100 workstation, which comes with NVIDIA's GB10 Blackwell, the Grace Blackwell superchip, with up to 1 petaflops. So you can run powerful models locally. Like this is for a researcher in AI, and it starts at $3,999. So, it's more expensive than people pay for home desktops, but not crazy.
Gosh, 1 petaflop. Can you imagine?
Just right there on your desktop. Yeah.
It was, it just was not that long ago that I was like, what's a petaflop? Really? I think the one that's most interesting to me is the one from Acer. A 16-inch laptop, I know they used to be, I had a 17-inch MacBook at one point, which was huge and heavy. It was cool, but it was huge. That. It was huge and heavy. And so something slightly smaller than this, but a lot lighter. I mean, that for somebody who's like, I want screen real estate, but I just don't want, my shoulders to go. That one's kind of cool. And it feels pretty competitively priced at 999 euros.
Yeah, not crazy, and lighter than any Apple MacBook you can get, at least for now.
Yeah. Google also announced an event for October 1st with the words, Gemini is coming to Google Home.
What does it mean?
And a picture of what looks like a Nest Cam. So Google announced last month that Gemini for Home would replace Google Assistant. I would assume we're going to get more of an update on that. And I don't know, maybe new products as well.
Yeah, probably. This is one of the least subtle invites. It's like, what could they? Oh, I know exactly.
Gemini is coming to Google Home, Tom. That's what it means.
But what does it mean?
Is there AI involved?
And what about Google Home? One trend out of IFA seems to be gigantic speakers. Did you see these?
Yeah. And I don't know. I guess somebody coming back from Burning Man would be like, oh man, if I only had this a week ago.
Samsung announced its latest sound tower models, the ST50F and the ST40F. They look like rollable luggage, and one of them actually rolls, but they are mostly made of speaker. The ST50F has wheels and a telescopic handle, 18-hour battery life. The ST40F has a handle but no wheels. They both have standard, wide, stadium, and outdoor settings, so you can match it to wherever you are. They're available now for $700 for the one with wheels, $500 for the other one. And JBL said, hold my beer while I dance, and announced its Party Box 720, which has 15 hours of battery life, a replaceable battery, 2 XLR ports if you want to hook up your guitar or karaoke this thing, and a light show that syncs to music, starting at $1,099, shipping September 21st.
Now, this is easy to just be like, who's partying this much?
I want you to email us, feedback@dailytechnotion.com.
Right. But listen, if you do, I don't know, weddings, right? If you have a regular DJ gig, there are lots of folks who would be like, actually, this is awesome.
Just roll this on in.
Yeah, this is great for me because I'm taking a bunch of expensive and heavy gear on the go. It makes sense. This is for a niche market.
Life of the party. The life of the party niche.
Yeah, maybe you just have a really big backyard.
Yeah.
And you want people to have a good time.
Or you roll up to everyone else's parties with it.
Right. Yeah.
I brought the speaker.
A couple other IFA product releases to note. Garmin announced the 27-day battery life Fenix 8 Pro rugged smartwatch with satellite and cellular connectivity. So you can send and receive text messages. You can share your location. You can make and receive voice calls and leave 20-second voice messages from almost anywhere on the planet. So again, if you're somebody who likes to travel, this could be interesting for you. Starts at $1,200, available September 8th. Finland's Polar announced a fitness band called the Polar Loop that tracks activity, sleep, and health metrics without a subscription. So that it puts it aside from some competitors in that capacity. It's available for pre-order for $199 and ships September 10th.
All right, let's move to some non-IFA news. OpenAI made some moves to fill out its new app team. If you remember, Instacart CEO Fiji Simo moved over to OpenAI to run apps. OpenAI bought an A/B testing company called StatSig. That company's CEO, Vijay Raji, will become OpenAI's CTO of apps. So running product engineering for ChatGPT and Codex, which is its cursor-like product. That moves engineering head Srinivas Narayanan to become OpenAI's CTO of B2B apps for companies and government use. And then OpenAI's chief product officer, which you might be wondering, what's Kevin Weil going to do now? Well, Kevin Weil becomes VP of AI for science, and his product team will, of course, report to Fiji Simo.
It must be nice to work for OpenAI, which is just... at this point, it's like, we're going to get new heads of everything, but you still have a job because we are expanding.
Yeah, you still have a job is the key there, right?
Cloudflare said it recently blocked the largest volumetric distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack, yet recorded. Cloudflare says the attacks peaked at 5.1 billion packets per second and 11.5 terabits per second. The company announced a previous record attack of 7.3 terabits per second back on June 20th. So we are on the up and up.
Yeah, these are happening more and more. SK Hynix and ASML announced they have assembled the world's first twin-scan NXE 5200B high-NA EUV lithography system. I'll explain why that is important if you don't recognize that. They did it at SK Hynix's fab in Incheon, South Korea. The system speeds up chip making and enables sub 2 nanometer nodes. Not the first thing that can do that, but an important one. And it leaps SK Hynix ahead of Micron and Samsung. It will initially be used to fast track prototyping, but eventually it's going to mass produce DRAM.
The IDC estimates that Chinese robotic vacuum makers accounted for 54.1% of shipments in Q1 this year. You might say, well, what are all those companies? What about Roomba? Roomba maker iRobot fell from the leading spot in the world to 5th place.
Oh,
but it was a good run, iRobot. It was a good run.
A long, slow run, bumping into chairs.
We're actually going to we're going to review. We haven't decided exactly the model unit yet, but we're going to review one of the newer robot vacuums for a Live With It coming up soon. So if anybody has ideas on what model you think we should go for, let us know.
Those are the essentials for today. Let's dive a little deeper.
GM, Ford, Tesla, and others are working on the next generation of EV battery tech. Lithium manganese rich, or LMR batteries, now with more manganese. So what is that? Bodie Grimm joined Tom to explain.
Bodie, welcome back. Good to have you, man.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
All right, let's talk about one of the harder words to say in the English language, manganese. How do you say that? Is that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Okay, good. Tell us about this. What's going on with LMR batteries?
So LMR batteries are still in development, but they're in our near future. They provide higher density, which means higher range. More energy density means more range.
Okay.
Lower production costs, and which means possibly cheaper cars. And they rely on less cobalt and nickel, which is better for the environment.
Okay. Is that because they still have lithium in them? Is it because you're using less lithium? Is that why?
No, you're using less cobalt and nickel. So it's really, there's a lot. Okay. There's an organization called Lead the Charge. If you want to know more about this, go check out what they do. But, digging nickel out of the ground is very dirty. And same with cobalt, but cobalt adds the, problematic parts of it because of human rights violations and indigenous people, land rights being trampled on and that kind of thing. So if we can take that stuff out of the battery, we're going to have a better battery for the environment, but we're also going to have, just kind of a better overall dignity for people battery.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then you said something about these being cheaper to produce. Is that going to mean my car will be cheaper?
No, cars like the Cadillac Lyriq it's going to cost what it's going to cost. But it does mean that these companies like Ford and GM and Tesla can potentially produce lower end cars, not to say low end, but lower end cars that have a better range. Now, Is this going to be at the bottom? No, LFP batteries are much cheaper and easier to produce, but it's going to sit somewhere between the nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries, which are in the higher end vehicles, and the LFP batteries, which are lithium iron phosphate. Those usually go in the lower end vehicles.
Yeah. So how do LMR compare to these other technologies?
So, like your typical nickel, manganese, cobalt battery has 85% nickel, 10% manganese, and 5% cobalt. The LMR batteries flip that. It's 65% manganese, 35% nickel, and virtually no cobalt. And then the LFP batteries, they don't have any nickel or cobalt, so it's not a good comparison.
All right. So you get better range. They're cheaper to produce, which could mean you get better range out of some cheaper models of cars. Why don't we see these everywhere? What are the challenges that are impeding or slowing down LMR adoption?
So we're still pretty early on in this chemistry. So they have some problems that they're trying to solve right now, like voltage attenuation, which basically means they lose voltage over time, which you can imagine if you invested tens of thousands of dollars in a car and that happened, you'd be pretty upset. So they're overcoming this, at least GM and LG Energy, they're overcoming this by using coatings and dopants on the cathode. And this is this stabilizes the structure to improve longevity. Now, do you want me to go into? I think dopants and coatings are really interesting. Do you want me to go into that?
Well, what are they, first of all?
Okay, so using a dopant is a tiny amount of some other material that's not typically found in the battery chemistry to solve a specific problem. So if you want to get longer range, you can add, X in, but if you want faster charging, you can add Y in. And then we can add a sprinkle of, Z to get a reduced battery.
Is it analogous to an alloy where you're using two different metals and you get different properties from the metal because of that? Is it kind of like that?
Yeah, they're basically there's a hole in the chemistry and they're filling it with a dopant.
Ah, okay. And then that makes the chemistry act different because they filled the hole. Think back to your high school chemistry, folks, and valences, and that'll kind of make sense. Okay. The thing to know about a dopant is that's an additive to the chemistry that can make it work in a way you want, but there's trade-offs to it. What about the coating? What does that do?
So instead of mixing something in with the battery chemistry itself, you're adding a protective layer, so that it's not affecting, in this case, the cathode. So this is the best way I've come up with this analogy. Like doping is like adding MSG to your food. It mixes in and enhances how everything tastes.
Okay.
A coating is like adding ketchup. It sits on top. It changes how things feel or taste in your mouth, but it's not mixed in with the food.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people who mix ketchup into things are going to immediately have a problem with this, but most people just spread ketchup on stuff. So if you think of it that way, I think it works really well. What are some of the other technical hurdles?
So oxygen release can cause damage in the battery structure. Oxygen is obviously an oxidizer that causes problems. Electrolyte instability at high voltages, surface cracking during charging cycles. Again, they're using coatings and dopants to prevent like oxygen loss and stabilize voltage and that kind of thing. There's some particle engineering that they're doing to handle the expansion and stress, which I didn't fully understand, but I thought was an interesting thing. But we're still a little bit away. They're going to start manufacturing cells in 2027, and GM says you'll see them in 2028.
Okay.
I would not expect to see these in any concentrated form until 2030.
Got it. Besides GM, who else is working on this?
Ford, Tesla. I'm sure big battery makers like CATL and Samsung and Panasonic. I'm sure they're all got their own flavor of this as well. All
right. Well, something to be ready for in 5 years or so. But if you see those ranges shoot up, look and see. Maybe there's an LMR battery underneath. Bodie, thanks for helping us understand this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
If people want to keep up on this sort of thing, because you report on it all the time, where should they go?
So I have a podcast called Kilowatt, and we cover all sorts of things. We cover the earnings calls. We cover battery chemistry, renewable energy, EVs, and it's basically a news show and an informational show. So if you want to learn more about it, go to 918digital.com.
Thanks, Bodie.
Thanks, Tom.
Hey, folks, we do live streams. If you want to chat with us while we're recording, come watch. We are available at youtube.com/Daily Tech News Show.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
I'm no tech genius, but I knew if I wanted my business to crush it, I needed a website now. Thankfully, Bluehost made it easy. I customized, optimized, and monetized everything exactly how I wanted with AI. In minutes, my site was up. I couldn't believe it. The search engine tools even helped me get more site visitors. Whatever your passion project is, you can set it up with Bluehost. With their 30-day money-back guarantee, what have you got to lose? Head to Bluehost.com to start now.
We end every episode of DTNS with some shared wisdom. Today, TC has a trick for people who might want to appear as if they're in the same household as someone else, even if they're not. For whatever reason, no judgment.
Yeah, TC wrote, well, I guess he gave it away. Regarding YouTube cracking down on the family plan, listeners in need may want to check out Tailscale Mesh VPN. It creates a virtual LAN, like I used to do with Hamachi to play StarCraft with my friends, even when we weren't at a LAN party. But for use with YouTube, one device can advertise itself as an exit. If the exit is at your family home, all users can turn on that exit in their Tailscale client and surf as if they were in your home. Or, beat their parent in StarCraft. Up to you. The free plan supports up to 100 devices from a many-year supporter, TC. Thank you, TC. That's a great tip if you want to mess with Tailscale, which is a great product, to be able to get around some of these restrictions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I know there are, depending on how much you use YouTube, there are plenty of people who are like, oh, this screws me up real bad.
Yeah.
Because we're not in the same house. And it's not even like, oh, we're trying to, stick it to Google. It's just, people live and work and run around in all sorts of different places. A family is not always in the same room.
Yeah. I I know this personally and maybe need to install tail scan.
I also do know this personally. So yes, your mileage may vary, but Tom and I will definitely be doing some research here. What are you thinking about? Are you on a family plan of some kind? Do you have some insight into any of the stories that we talked about today? Share it with us. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com.
Big thanks to Bodie Grimm and TC for contributing to today's show. Thank you for being along for Daily Tech News Show. You can keep us in business. Become a patron. You can do it right now. It's super easy. Patreon.com/DTNS. Talk to you soon.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, September 20th. Okay, let's start that over. Here we go.
This is Paige DeSorbo from Giggly Squad. Boost Mobile gives you the same network coverage, speed, and service you're used to, just at a more affordable price. Why pay more if you don't have to? Offering reliable nationwide coverage backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee. Love your service or get your money back, no questions asked. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or head to boostmobile.com to learn more. After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers who cancel within 30 days of activation will have Boost service fees refunded. Activation fees, if applicable, and phone payments will not be refunded.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.